Welcome to episode 6 of H.O.P.E, honoring ourselves purposefully every day. Because of the social distancing regulations that are in place right now, this show is going to be brought to you just a little differently. We'll have more home videos than usual. Thank you in advance for your patience and understanding. At first, I was going to take the option of taking a break. I thought when I was given that option that might be something that I'd like to do. But then as I considered the theme of this episode, which is depression and anxiety, part 2, and when I considered the guests that I had already invited and spoken to and their messages of healing, I thought that if there was ever a better or more needed time, it was right now. So again, thank you for joining us, and I hope that the golden nuggets shared in this episode will help you as you face every day, all these days of uncertainty before us.
The broken will always be able to love harder than most, because once you've been in the dark, you learn to appreciate everything that shines.
My name's Andrew Ichikawa. I'm a certified music therapist. My practice is called Pathways Music Therapy, and I mainly provide music therapy to children, adolescents, and adults with developmental disabilities, as well as early education. And in the past, I have worked in palliative care and with older adults. So the first question is, does music really have a therapeutic effect? And I would say that music really does have a therapeutic effect. As humans, we seem to be wired to respond to music in a way that can bring us together, that can motivate us and can soothe us. The music that gets our attention can be quite individual, but basic responses to music seem to be universal and based on biology. So here's kind of a fun activity for the viewers to start out. To answer this first question, think about all the ways you use music in your life. So we listen to music or we play music for fun or entertainment or pleasure. And music can bring us goosebumps. It can also bring us tears of joy and tears of sadness. And then music also affects us physically. We use music to energize and to organize physical behavior. Some run or work out to music. And just imagine a dance class or a Zumba class without music. It doesn't make any sense. Music can also relax us. That's also a physical response. It can put us to sleep, or it can into a dreamlike state. Music can make certain tasks more tolerable, like cleaning the house, working, or doing homework. And many use music to feel connected to others or to something greater than themselves. Just think about how music is used for faith and spirituality and in religious ceremonies. Well, music supports culture and social connection. It can be a social activity that strengthens community or simply a comfortable way for people to get together and feel a sense of belonging. The steady beat of music can support social bonding as people are moving together in a synchronized way. So if you think again about dancing or about marching to the military beat, there's a certain togetherness that's held together by the beat. Music can also help express feelings or stir up emotions and memories, which may have a deep meaning for us. In fact, on this point, there's an educator called Carl Polnack who has described music as a sort of a container that can capture and hold our experience, especially when we have an experience that's intensely wonderful or challenging. So music, in fact, increases our capacity to retain and engage in experience, according to him. And not just the memory of the experience, but the actual feeling. So the actual experience that we had when we were listening to the music can kind of float back to us, or can flow back to us as we listen to the music again. Another activity for the viewers to test out this sort of idea is to just think about a song or a piece of music that's been important to you in your life and listen to that music or sing it or play it on an instrument, and pay attention to any sensations or emotions that you're experiencing. Do memories come to mind of a particular event or person, a period in your life? Are there images that come to mind? Do you picture anything or have any other sensory experiences? Do the images and memories relate to the emotion you are feeling? And what else do you notice about this experience? So, music has this evocative nature. It commands our attention, it inspires us, it gets us moving, it can help to deepen our feelings, our relationships, and our spirituality. And people do say it just makes us feel better. So, yes, I would say that music is therapeutic. And so far, I haven't really said anything about music therapy. We're just talking about our basic human responses to music. Clearly, as a music therapist, I do believe that music is therapeutic. It's not simply this idea that music makes us feel better. Oh, I was feeling a little under the weather. I listened to music and now I feel better. That's wonderful, but it's not music therapy. That's not what music therapy by definition is. Music therapy is an established profession which is supported by a growing body of research. According to the Canadian Association for Music Therapists, music therapy is a discipline in which certified music therapists use music in a purposeful way, along with the therapeutic relationship, to support development, health, and well-being. Music therapists are trained to use music safely and ethically. This is especially important as they're often working with vulnerable individuals, and they're developing programming to address a range of human needs and goals. These goals can be cognitive or communicative, emotional, musical, physical, social, and spiritual. So we can't call an activity music therapy unless a certified music therapist is doing it. And the relationship between the therapist and the client is very important. And the goals of the therapy are clearly defined. So in a nutshell, that's the profession of music therapy. So how does music affect anxiety and depression? I think we can look at this question from the standpoint of how we use music on an everyday basis, and also from a music therapy perspective. So our biological responses to music may be similar, but the type of music and how it might be used really varies from person to person. A person's musical history may be a factor. Think of all the different types of music people enjoy or even dislike, and all of the different types of music experiences there are, including some of the ones I mentioned earlier. So how music might affect anxiety and depression really can vary. Part of the music therapy process is assessment, getting to know a person and gaining an understanding of what music experiences might be helpful. Music therapy may address many of the same underlying issues as other therapies when it comes to mental health, with the added element of the nonverbal and expressive features of music. So in addition to medication for depression and anxiety, we understand that talking, expressing feelings and emotions, and feeling heard and understood, feeling understood, we understand that those things can help. And also we understand that working on ways to change our thinking can help. And that engaging in creative and physical activities can help. And that having a sense of control and having hope can help. And we also finally understand that connecting and socializing with others, that is not feeling alone, that can help as well. So all of these elements can be addressed by music therapy. Therapy can be just about the music experience, or can also include discussion or verbal therapy. It can be recreational or activity-based in nature, or it can involve a deeper exploration to gain personal insight about feelings and behaviors. What music therapy looks like will be based on the assessment of the person's needs and the specialized training of the music therapist. So if we're looking at some of the actual interventions, music therapy interventions, here's how music therapy activities might be able to affect depression and anxiety. So music can involve listening. listening to live or recorded music in a directed way in order to encourage emotional expression. This is called receptive music therapy. Music therapy may involve participating in recreational music activities such as choirs, bands, or group drumming. And this can be simply for enjoyment, or it can be for group interaction. Singing in groups, for example, has been found to have health benefits such as reduced anxiety and enhanced mood. And also, there have been positive outcomes for those with chronic mental health issues around singing in choirs. Improvisation, or creating music on the spot, can help the clients to express emotions through voice, through instrument playing, and generally through a nonverbal form of expression. Songwriting, composition, looking at song lyrics and analyzing them, these things can provide another avenue for expression of thoughts and feelings. The creation of a song can be a concrete representation of unspoken anxieties, fears, or causes of depression. And songs with themes of recovery have been shown to be beneficial for those with serious mental health issues. There are additional specialized fields of music therapy that can address issues of mental health, and these include guided imagery in music and music psychotherapy. And these require additional training for the music therapist, and they may be more insight-based. So in that case, the client is exploring personal insight in order to gain an understanding of their challenges. So what are some of the negative and positive aspects of music or responses to music? I think I've talked quite a bit about the positive aspects of music, especially when it comes to music therapy, but music can also affect us in a negative way. I mentioned how music can act as a container for the intense experiences that we've had. And this includes negative experiences and traumatic experiences. So just as music can be a window to good memories, it can also trigger or bring about very negative emotions and experiences. One of the reasons music grabs our attention is that it can actually stimulate our startle response, our fight or flight response. When we hear a dissonant sound in our environment, like a car accident, we react instinctively. The same happens when we hear a sudden loud sound or a dissonant, unfamiliar sound in music. The tension and resolution in music, especially in classical music, can be quite dramatic. And these factors can bring excitement and pleasure in music, but it can also cause anxiety. So individual music choice is very important. Also, for individuals who may have cognitive deficits or specific mental health disorders, some music may cause confusion or agitation. Some sounds may even be physically painful for some people with sensory disorders or developmental disabilities, or even just specific sensitivities to sound. For example, the high metallic sound of a cymbal or a triangle may ring in the ears in an uncomfortable way. And another note on music choice, we may think of something like heavy metal or rap as anxiety causing and classical music to be relaxing. But it's very individual. We can't kind of make these stereotypical comments. Someone who grew up with heavy metal may find it helps them relax because they can relate to it, and it can be, they can vent their feelings through that music. And some may be completely uncomfortable and anxious when listening to certain pieces of classical music. So we can't assume that every person in a care home, for example, would enjoy the music of the 50s. There's kind of there's no one size fits all when it comes to music and music therapy. So the music therapist has to be aware of these factors and be prepared to intervene in case of a negative response to the music. This is part of how music therapists work in a safe and ethical way. And one reason why simply putting headphones on, for example, someone in a care home is not considered music therapy and would not necessarily be recommended without kind of someone supporting them and being with them to experience the music. So what music is most effective in calming and uplifting? I think what I said before suggests that personal preferences has to be a guide here. There is evidence to suggest that music that is close to or below the heart rate, without dramatic changes in rhythm and melody and harmony, can have a relaxing or sedative effect. Just think of something like Pachelbel's Canon or some of the new age music that kind of is very kind of steady. And that faster music above the heart rate is good to motivate for movement and exercise, disco and dance music. But again, if someone dislikes the sounds in the music or dislikes the music itself, it's not going to be calming. So I think there is a general guideline in having an understanding of what is calming and what motivates movement. But again, it's individual. And when is music therapy used most often? Under what conditions and what settings? Well, the modern profession of music therapy in part arose because of a need to support the many veterans returning from the Second World War. And music therapy was also influenced by the advent of certain psychotropic medications or psychiatric medications that permitted many who were previously institutionalized to be able to return to the community. So in the early years of music therapy, it was used most frequently with adults with mental health issues, as well as individuals with disabilities. However, now music therapy is used with many clinical populations in a wide range of settings. I have a bit of a list here of medical and living conditions from right from birth to older age, older adulthood, that might lead someone to access music therapy. So there are music therapists working in obstetrics, in neonatal care, with individuals with autism, with speech and language impairments, developmental disabilities, and physical disabilities, with individuals with mental health difficulties, emotional trauma, victims of abuse, teens at risk, substance abuse, individuals who have experienced traumatic brain injury, AIDS, in hospital setting, in geriatric care, oncology, palliative care, ICU or critical care, just in medical settings in general, and as well for pain control, for hearing impairments, for visual impairments. And then there's also music therapy for personal growth. So music therapy takes place in a range of medical, community, school, and correctional settings, as well as in private practice. And in recent weeks, with the need for social distancing, music therapists have begun to offer online music therapy sessions as well. So some examples and anything that I could add that may help people through this uncertain and anxious time. Well, I could say that in times of crisis, people often turn to music. You may have noticed social media posts in recent weeks are filled with videos of people making music during challenging times. In Italy, during quarantine, people ventured out onto their balconies to make music together and to sing the national anthem. And similar gatherings have occurred around the world. Artists who no longer can play in clubs or concerts are streaming music from their homes on a nightly basis. Eric Clark, who is an expert in the psychology of music, points out that music is a collective experience which can overcome physical distance. And people can have social togetherness when they're physically apart because of the nature of the auditory nature of music. Clark adds that research has shown that making music can help people to create a sense of control over their own lives and establish connection with others. And I'm quoting here, research shows that this does make people feel better and closer to others. When you sing with others in particular, there's a palpable sense of social solidarity. So music brings people together and it soothes. It connects people to something larger. This is a time that easily gives rise to depression and anxiety. Montreal music therapist Danny Bouchard recently said in a CBC interview that the acts of listening to and making music can temporarily relieve us at a time when, and it's a time when you can be in the moment, in the here and now, and can provide an opportunity to express emotions or self-soothe amid the stress of current events. So what can we do with music under these circumstances or under any circumstances? Well, I think there's a few things that you can do. Um, I think you can reflect upon what listening to music and playing music does for you. Explore what music is soothing for you and what music helps you to vent your feelings and what music makes you happy. Seek out music with themes that support you, that inspire you, that give you hope. And you can create playlists that support this activity. You can connect with others or seek websites or social media accounts that celebrate the music that you like. Do you play music or do you sing? Take this time to learn a song that you've been wanting to learn or to play an instrument that you've been wanting to pick up again, as long as you have easy access to it. Connect musically with others online or from your balcony or from the driveway. I think there are little things that we can do in order to connect with others and to be able to feel empowered.
Music can speak what cannot be expressed, soothes the mind and gives it rest, heals the heart and makes it whole, flows from heaven to the soul.
I'm Patricia Loff. I've been meditating for 30 years and I'm a meditation instructor. Most people who come to me for meditation training have tried meditating before, but for one reason or another, it doesn't stick. And the reasons it doesn't stick are pretty common. They usually relate to a lack of preparation to have their meditation training, kind of cemented as a routine in their life. And so I'm going to give you today my best tips for preparing a meditation practice in your home, and hopefully you can make it stick a lot better. Okay, so the first thing is to choose your place for meditating. That's super important. You want to be comfortable. You want to be uninterrupted. You want to be warm enough. You want to be cool enough. Some people sometimes the body temperature changes while you're meditating. For me, I get quite a bit cooler, so I have a blanket nearby if I need it. Lots of people get too warm, and so you don't want the room to be too warm. So pick your place that you're going to be comfortable, warm enough, cool enough. So that's number one, and not interrupted. Number two is your posture. Posture is super important in meditating. I know lots of people, there are a lot of suggestions about meditating laying down and standing up, but here's the thing. Laying down gives the brain a different signal than it does when the spine is erect. And then standing up, you need to be very skilled to stand up and meditate. And there are people who can do it. I am not one of them, even after 30 years. So your best bet is to sit. And so I can give you some variations about how to sit in the best manner possible. Ideally, the ideal sitting posture for meditation is full lotus, where your legs are scrambled together in that yoga posture, and so that's ideal, and that has to do with the way the cerebral spinal fluid moves in the body and the chemicals that it releases in the body, and so ideally that's the position for meditation. However, most of us cannot sit in full lotus. So there are variations that will give you beautiful effects from meditating and still, progress you in your meditation practice. So the most basic sitting position is choose a straight back chair where you can plant your feet flat on the floor. You don't want your feet to be crossed. You don't want your hands to be crossed. Again, that gives different signals to the brain. So you want your feet planted flat on the floor. You can put your hands on your lap, either palms down or palms up. And then if you're sitting in a chair with a straight back, you can try having your back unsupported. So that means you're up from the back of the chair. And if you can't do that, then you can just lean back a little bit and get the chair to support you. But here's the thing, once you start meditating for a little while, your back is going to start to take over. The chemicals in your body are going to change. That's what happens during meditation, and your back will just start getting stronger, and you'll find that you'll be able to support yourself and not have it supported. But if you need it supported, take the support. And then once you start meditating for a little while and you start to build some strength in your back and some posture, some self-supporting posture, you can try to up your game. So if you're leaning back in the chair, try for a while to be unsupported. You can try moving to the floor with a cushion under your rump and sit with your legs crossed, not ankles crossed. You can try half lotus and then eventually move up to full lotus if you can, but if you can't, don't worry about it. Okay, so we've got the place and we've got the posture. Oh, one other thing about posture I want to tell you. Your shoulders should be down and back, and they should be down and back in a relaxed manner. It shouldn't be a strain, except when you first start, you might feel a tiny little strain up in the back of the top of your shoulders there. That is quite all right. You'll probably find after meditating for a few minutes that you'll start to slouch forward again if that's what your body is accustomed to, and that's perfectly fine as well. Just remind yourself down and back, and if you have to remind yourself several times down and back, that's okay. It's just like when we learn to walk, few of us just pop up on our feet and start walking right away. We usually need a little bit of practice to get that walking thing down, but we never give up. And so meditation is no different. Most people who start don't have a perfect posture. They don't have a perfect seating position. They build it. And so that's part of the meditation process, is to build your skill, to build your physical ability to withstand a proper posture for whatever length of time that it is that you're going to be meditating. And so then the next thing to prepare is choose ahead of time the time of day that you want to meditate. And so here's a tip. When you first get up in the morning, your brain waves are really low because you're just coming out of a delta sleep, and so a delta brainwave, which is sleep, and so your brain waves are really nice and slow. And so when you meditate, when you first get up in the morning, especially if you get up early, your brain waves don't have a chance yet to elevate to a beta brainwave, and so you don't have to drag them back from a beta brainwave to get them to slow down again. So if you want to have an easier experience, try meditating shortly after you get up in the morning. I get up really early because I don't want to be interrupted in my meditation practice, and my brain is almost halfway there anyway. So I choose early in the morning to meditate, and that's ideal. And then lots of people also meditate at night. I'm not a nighttime meditator because I fall asleep easy. so I just I meditate in the morning, and then it sets me up for a gorgeous day afterwards. Okay, so we've got your place, we've got your posture, we've got your time of day, and next up is it's really helpful before you start a meditation practice to see if you can actually sit in one place for a period of time without distraction. That means no phone, no TV, no talking to anybody, just sit. Because the last thing that you want to do is start to meditate before your body is trained to sit. And so lots of people find that really, internally disturbing to just sit without distraction, and there's a reason for that. So the reason is most of us are so task oriented and duty oriented, and we're used to doing something or being entertained by something from the outside, that to just kind of quiet it down and not have all that stimulus is unfamiliar to the body. And if there's one thing that the body and the mind really, really, really love, it's familiarity. And so if you start to do something that's unfamiliar, you're going to feel almost like an emotional disturbance on the inside, because your body is fighting to get back this familiarity. But if you train yourself prior to beginning meditation to sit quietly without distraction, you'll find out just how comfortable you are with it or otherwise. And if you're not comfortable with it, get yourself comfortable with it before you start meditating. And so if you can imagine, if you're doing, training plank position, for instance, you're not going to start with a 30-minute plank. You're going to start with maybe a 30-second plank and see if you can hold that. And then move it up to 45 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes or whatever it is that you can tolerate, and just push the envelope just a tiny little bit. So it's the same thing with sitting quietly by yourself with no distractions, no conversation, no external stimulus, and see how disturbing that is for your body. And then take 30 seconds and see if it pushes it. Next day or later in that day, go 45 seconds, a minute, and just keep pushing that little bit out and out and out and out. And then when you do start to meditate, you'll find that the actual sitting part doesn't interrupt your learning to meditate process. That's one of the things that knocks people out of meditation very, very commonly. Okay, so we've got place, we've got posture, we've got the time of day, we've trained to sit without external distraction, and now I'll go on to one of the other things that trips people up quite a bit. So one of the things that I get a lot from people is that when they try to meditate, or when they do meditate, it makes their mind noisier. This is a complete misunderstanding, and it's super common. I've tried meditating, but all it does is make my mind noisier, and therefore it doesn't work. But that's just a complete misunderstanding. I'll tell you what really happens. Once you start to sit down and meditate and be quiet, your awareness of your internal world is elevated. And so because this awareness of your internal world is elevated, you notice how noisy your mind has always been. This isn't your meditation making your mind noisy. Your mind is that noisy, and you're just becoming aware of it on a different level. And so that is what meditation is supposed to do, is to make you aware. In fact, that's what meditation means in Tibetan. It means to become familiar. What do we become familiar of? Our internal world as more familiar, or as familiar as we are with our external world. And so it's working. If you find that your mind gets noisier or seems noisier, your meditation is working. And so then you keep going. And then the next thing that you'll notice, if you can work yourself past that discomfort of, holy smokes, my mind is noisy, the next thing that you're going to notice is that you have great facility in how noisy that your mind is throughout the day. And you have a lot of say in what's happening in there. And that's when you start to get the juice of meditation happening off the cushion, as they say, or in your regular life. Okay. So we've got place, we've got posture, we've got time of day, we've trained ourselves to sit quietly without distraction, we've gotten over how noisy our minds really are and how shocking that is to realize that. And then the next piece that sticks people up quite a bit, or stops people from meditating before they maybe should, is they don't get this experience of nirvana right away. And so I think that's another fallacy. People think that if they just sit and meditate, then they're owed this, experience of nirvana. And that works sometimes, but if it doesn't work for you, then you're going to be just like me. It took me 2 years to build a meditation practice that I can stick to. And there have been bumps in the road over the 30 years too. So it's not every day is like this magnificent, nirvana experience, and that is okay, because what it does do, outside of this whole woo-woo experience, is it builds a better mind, it builds a better leadership over my emotions. I'm way more resilient than I used to be, in order to handle circumstances in the world like we're handling today. This COVID upset in the world is not as internally upsetting to me as it might be had I not been meditating all this time. And so it allows me to manage everything else outside of meditation in a more beautiful manner than I would have otherwise. And then once in a while I do get that experience of nirvana. But let me tell you what happens when you don't get that experience of nirvana. So for those of us who have a more analytical mind than somebody who might be more creative, for instance, it might be just in order to go through that barrier that is between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, it's just a little bit longer walk over the bridge. And so it doesn't matter how fast you go or how often you go. It really is, for those of us who have an analytical mind, we might have to just have more patience about walking over that bridge. And so that's quite all right. I mean, you'll still get there, you still get the experience, but don't base your meditation success on that sensation of nirvana. If you get there, super beautiful. And if you get there once, you'll get there again, but don't give up before you get there. And if it doesn't happen on the first day, that's okay too. That's okay too. It didn't happen for me on the first day. I can assure you. And it still doesn't happen to me every day. And some days it's a really rocky road to meditate, but every single day is worth it. And I meditate every single day. So I hope all of that information helps. If you want to find out more, you can reach me at patricialoff.com. Thank you so much.
Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. Listen to silence. It has meaning.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea Scott. I am a health and wellness coach. I live near the beautiful mountains of Waterton. I am a mother of 7. I wanted to show you a picture. This is my family, 7 kids. And I'm on here to talk to you about emotions and essential oils and why and how those all work together. Did you know that our bodies are meant to work as a whole? They were designed that way. And emotions can really affect your health, especially at this time, right? There's so much going on right now. There's so many emotions. There's so many feelings being felt. And I just want to encourage you to just step back for a moment and breathe. Everything's gonna be okay in its own way, and we're gonna figure this out together, okay? So I'm gonna explain the olfactory nerve and how emotions and essential oils are connected, okay? So can you take your finger and just kind of pinch above the bridge of your nose, and then put your hand on the back of your head. This is the olfactory nerve, and right back here is called the limbic center of the brain. And inside that limbic center is your emotions. Your emotions live inside of that space, and also your memories, okay? So think memories and emotions. So this olfactory nerve has about 50 million neurons that go from that space to that part of your brain. So when you are smelling a smell, have you ever smelled a smell and you're like, this reminds me of, and it brings up a memory? Have you had that happen? That is your limbic brain working. And it's teaching you and it's reminding you that it's there and it's affected by smells, okay? So another way to get into that part of the brain where the emotions are, as well as through smell, all right? Does this make sense? So when you have different things happen in your life, an emotional, like what recently happened, everyone was feeling all the feels, and we still are. And we have these experiences, so parts of our body will be affected from the emotional overwhelm or the emotional trauma. And some of those areas of the body will stop working. So for instance, you can have, feel stress, and it will stimulate the adrenal glands, okay, to shoot more hormones into the body. And that's from just feeling stress, and it will affect the body. Maybe you feel stress or anxiety and you get stomach aches. And maybe your stomach and your digestive system doesn't work very well from those stomach aches. Okay? So there's different ways to support those emotions with smells, and I'm going to teach you how with essential oils. Not all essential oils are created equally, so make sure you're using therapeutic grade oils, okay? All right, so when you're smelling that smell, it's going to bring in a lot of molecules into the brain, a lot of things that are going to stimulate the cells, get into that emotion center into the brain, and help support your emotions. So I am a health and wellness coach, like I said earlier. If you are wanting to have any support, please message me. I am on Facebook. You can find me at doTERRA Mama 7, MAMMA. And I talk and support a lot of people who are struggling, especially emotionally at this time, and will help you get the tools that you need. Or also, we have a team that supports a lot of people, and we do a lot of classes. We usually do them on Saturday mornings at 10, and we do them online. So you're welcome to come and learn with us if that's something you want to do as well. Just come and learn more on how these essential oils work and how they can support your physical and emotional body. All right, you guys, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're safe and your families are well. Praying for everyone at this time as we're working through so many emotions together. And I'm sending you blessings and love. Okay, you guys take care. Bye.
Breathe in wellness with essential oils.
Hi, my name is Mariann McConnell, and I live in southern Alberta near the beautiful mountains of Waterton Park. I'm a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for 42 years. One of the most amazing benefits of yoga that has helped me in my life is the fact that it helps me get calm and relaxed, particularly in stressful times. So one of the ways that yoga helps with that is that it integrates your breath with movement, and that seems to have an amazing effect on our mind. The breath, in fact, is the connection between the body and the mind. And if our mind is stressed, usually our breath will reflect that. We'll be taking in deep sighs, or we'll have shallow, erratic breathing. So if we can calm the breath down, in turn, it will calm down our mind and probably slow down our heart rate in that process. So then we can think more clearly in order to respond more effectively to the circumstances in our daily life. So today I'd like to share with you just a couple of techniques that might help you with the calming effects of yoga. So first is the breathing. We like to do a 3-part breathing into the lower, middle, and upper lungs. And then this will help us to regulate the breath, which in turn then can slow down our thoughts and help us to think more clearly. So we can use our hands in this practice, just placing our hand just at the solar plexus here and breathe into that area. And then into the middle lungs, fill that. And then into the upper lungs. And as we're ready to exhale, bring the hand here and start the exhalation right there at the solar plexus and the diaphragm. And then to the chest and to the upper chest. So breathing in lower, middle, and upper lungs. And exhale lower, middle, and upper. And I'm breathing through my nose in this process. So if you can, breathe through your nose. Inhale lower, middle, and upper lungs. And exhale lower, middle, and upper. I'm trying to make my breath nice and long and slow, drawing in that oxygen, which in turn helps to calm the mind, getting more oxygen, middle, and upper. Lower, middle, and upper. Exhale from the lower, middle, and upper. We can even take our hands, if we like, and put the thumb in the palms of the hands and wrap your fingers around the hands. And this is called a mudra. And if you hold this at the navel area, this can help to have a nice, smooth, even flow of breath in the lower, middle, and upper lungs. Breathing in lower, middle, and upper, and exhale lower, middle, and upper lungs. Inhale, lower, middle, and upper. And exhale from the lower lungs, the middle, and the upper. So you've probably heard of foot massage and acupuncture, and when we put our hands in a particular position like that, it has the same effect as reflexology or acupuncture, and sending messages through the nerves to the brain, which in this case works on the expansion of the lower, middle, and upper lungs. So moving into a couple of yoga stretches that can be really calming as well. The first one is the cat stretch. And it works with movement of the spine, which is really beneficial for the nerves along the spine, and in turn can help with our mind. So I have a little blanket to go under my knees, and I'm going to go into hands and knee pose, which is called the cat. And so if I just start with an inhalation and arch the back, and then exhale from the tailbone, rounding the back. So this is like a cat, moving back and forth, arching the back, and then rounding the back. My movement starts from the tailbone, lifting the tailbone, rolling up the spine, and then gazing gently upwards, not to hurt the neck. And then starting from the tailbone, rounding the spine. And then inhaling, coming back to neutral. You can also go side to side with this stretch so that it gives you a side stretch, a lateral stretch to the spine. So we're moving the spine in those 4 directions, arching it, rounding it, and going to the left and the right. So this cat stretch can flow with your breath, exhaling here and inhaling as you open the chest. Exhale as you round and inhale as you open. And then coming back to neutral, you can just rest in a child's pose if that's comfortable. This could also be done standing if you have challenges with your knees. Putting your hands on the thighs, exhale, round, inhale, arch, exhale, round, inhale, arch, exhale to one side, inhale to center, exhale to the other side, inhale to center. The other pose I wanted to share with you is a seated forward bend. And I'm just going to sit my hips on the edge of a blanket, which will help with a little bit of pelvic tilt. Now, if you have tight hamstrings, put a bend in your knees. So this bend is a closing pose, so it's a calming pose. So I like to lengthen my spine with an in-breath and exhale and fold over my legs. And just breathing calmly as we hold this pose. If your hamstrings can take a little more stretch, you can begin to lengthen the legs out. Breathing. And in yoga, this is a pose of surrender. So sometimes in our lives, there's just things we have to know that we have no control over, and we might as well surrender with them. So just folding in, taking those nice full breaths, and allowing yourself to surrender to the circumstances. So those are my yoga poses for you today. I hope they will help you to feel a little calmer and relaxed, and thank you so much.
Inhale courage, exhale fear.
Hey guys, it's your poop coach Gina here, coming to talk to you a little bit more, go in depth a little bit more about how a C-section can affect depression in your body, how antibiotics and how foods, so processed foods, can also trigger a little bit of depression. So if you're looking into C-sections, when you come out of the birth canal, you get bacteria from your mom, and it starts to go on your skin, and it also will go into your mouth, and that starts to build your gut. That starts to get your immune system going, and it starts to get all the bacteria flourishing in the body. And so if you were born C-section, you come out completely sterile. So if you're born in a hospital, that's a very sterile environment. And so you're not getting the proper bacteria that you need to actually build your immune system and your gut. So that's one thing. Do C-sections run in your family? Do you have depression? Were you born through C-section? Antibiotics, those things are very, very popular these days, and I feel like depression is on the rise and antibiotic use is also on the rise. So when you are taking in an antibiotic, which there's a time and a place for it, but I do feel like they are definitely overused, antibiotics kill the good and the bad bacteria. And so they found in a study that with people in depression, 2 gut bacteria are missing. They've been completely wiped out, and that could be linked to people being on a ton of antibiotics and not rebuilding their gut with some sort of probiotic, with foods that fight inflammation. And then the other one is food's a very loose term, so a lot of people are not eating the way that our bodies were designed to eat. So we have a ton of processed food that we are taking in. Any sort of thing that's been in a box, has been boxed or heavily processed, that you want to keep to a very minimum in your diet. So the foods that you want to focus on that will boost serotonin and that will make you a happier person and release inflammation from your body is every fruit, vegetable, raw nuts and seeds. Make sure that they're raw, because a lot of times they're deep fried in a peanut oil, and that can cause inflammation in the body. And then you want all of your legumes, all of your beans, and then some gluten-free grains you can add in there. And that is the fuel for a healthy body to feed the bacteria in your gut. The mom's gut health is the kid's gut health. And so when they say it runs in my family, it's because maybe the mom suffered from a little bit of depression, or their gut bacteria wasn't the best. And then you pass it on to the kid, and then they come out as a C-section, and so now they're just completely wiped. Like their bacteria is it just can't thrive. And there is ways to fix that though. So it's not doom and gloom. You can't get better. There's so many beautiful ways that you can fix your gut. You can heal it. And so when you look at the gut, you also have to look to the liver. The liver is the master organ, and it does so many functions. We don't even know exactly what it does or how many functions it actually performs in the body. And it's an organ that doesn't really get looked at very much, or nobody pays a lot of attention to it, but it needs the most attention. So one of the things that the liver does is it processes hormones in the body. So you feel all the feelings, and then they get sent to the liver, and the liver processes them, and it sends them out of the body in a beautiful bowel movement, or it sends it through the urinary system, and you pee out hormones. You pee out feelings, basically. And if your liver is bogged down because you've eaten the wrong kind of foods, there's inflammation in your body, or you don't drink enough water, or you're always stressed, the liver gets clogged, and it can't process these hormones properly. And so what happens is you're just holding on to old feelings or old hormones. And especially for women, when the menstrual cycle comes and estrogen spikes in the body needs to deal with that estrogen, because a lot of problems can happen if the estrogen just gets let go and it does all its things. So the liver says, I need to focus on processing the high amounts of estrogen in the body. And so it basically almost throws out all of the old emotions that it doesn't, or that it can't deal with right then and there. And so that's when you find yourself, especially around your menstrual cycle, where you want to cry, you want to laugh, you want to throw things all within a couple minutes of each other. You're feeling so many feelings, which is just old hormones that have been released into the body so your liver can handle estrogen. Now, when the gut is in a perfect state and a repaired state, when you've eaten the proper foods and you've taken maybe some probiotics to help get that gut bacteria flowing a little bit better, and you're having beautiful bowel movements, you're getting the old toxic waste out, and you're letting the body almost be able to breathe. And then the vagus nerve that we talked about running from the base of the skull all the way down to the gut, that stops being inflamed, and you can actually connect with the brain and take up the vital vitamins and minerals that you need for your body to function fully. All right, we're going to talk about trigger foods that cause the body to be inflamed. Whenever there's inflammation in the body, you're going to feel either irritated, uncomfortable in your own skin, or you're going to start to feel depression creeping in because the body can't communicate optimally. So the trigger foods. Number one, dairy. Dairy is not a health food. You can live without it, but it causes a lot of mucus production in the body, and it also causes the body to be inflamed. And so that's one that you want to cut out. So if you feel like depression is in your family or you're suffering from it right now, that's one food that you can live without healthily. The other one is corn. Corn is a very highly inflammatory food as well. Anything processed, so anything that comes in a box or some sort of a package that you can't pick from the ground, so like a cracker, something like that, or some sort like a chip, those things will create inflammation in the body. Dyes are probably the worst thing to put in your body, especially for kids. They just can't handle themselves when they start to take in like red dyes, blue dyes, orange dyes, yellow dyes, those things that are in most of the kids' snacks. That irritates and inflames the body, and so they're just going to lash out and almost go into like depression and then come out of it because they're on a sugar high and then stoop down into depression again. So dyes, processed foods, any sort of processed sugar. Meat is also another one on the inflammatory food scale. A lot of times we can't digest it, or we're eating too much of it, and so it starts to clog the body. So the foods that you want to focus on are living foods. You are a living human being. You need living foods in order to thrive. And so those are the foods that you find out in nature that have high fiber content. So all of your beans, we've gone over that, the fruits, the vegetables, legumes, and nuts and seeds.
Segment, I'm combining Coach's Corner with my wellness journey. Much of what I speak about comes from an article on Health Links about anxiety and stopping negative thinking. In episode 5, Transformational Thinking coach Patricia Loff talked to us about how negative thinking actually changes our brain chemistry. And you all know how I feel about the power of our thoughts. We know that anxiety is basically too much fear and worry, which can cause physical symptoms. Now you can take a pill to help with some of those symptoms or attack it at its roots. And that's where positive, healthy thinking comes into play. Your thoughts can help prevent and control anxiety. But changing our thinking is not a snap thing, is it? It takes time and effort, and it takes believing that you can control your thoughts. If you commit to certain steps of change, after a while, they become second nature. I've had people ask me how I stay so positive with all I go through. Not that I go through a lot, I have a wonderful life, sort of. We all have issues, right? We all have issues in our life that we have to deal with. Mine is my health right now, mostly. It didn't come naturally to me, and for most of my life I was run by fear. Thoughts that I was not safe, never enough. My anxieties kept me stuck. I was scared of the dark, scared of people. I couldn't fly in a plane. I was anxious in a car. Very protective of my children, they'll attest to that. But I've worked hard practicing to control my thoughts and replacing my fear with faith. Yes, this included God in the process, majorly, and changing my thinking. but it was work. Just like Jim Rohn says, life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. All right, so step number 1, pay attention to your thoughts. So many of us go through life, barreling through life, just letting our thoughts run away on us. Have you ever stopped and thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that? Well, what you say comes from a thought. And we can be aware of our thoughts, slow down a bit, and really pay attention to what you're thinking. And then, step 2, ask yourself, is it positive? Is it rational? Does it help me? Is it negative? Is it hurting me? Is it keeping me stuck? Then number 3, write it down. Write it down. Write down how it makes you feel. Write down why you feel the way you do. Just analyze it. It's sort of like a gratitude journal, but opposite. Gratitude journal, we want to write down all the things we're grateful for, which we should be doing, and it's wonderful. That just enhances all of that positivity in us. But you keep track of negative thoughts in this notebook, in this particular journal. You stop, ask, and write. Stop the negative thought when you recognize it, then ask yourself what you're thinking and why and how it makes you feel, analyze it, and then write those thoughts down. Soon, you will do that more automatically. You won't have to write it all the time. So again, pay attention to your thoughts, slow down, and pay attention. Then when you identify a negative thought, stop it dead in its tracks. Then ask yourself why you might be feeling that way, or where it's coming from, and what you're actually feeling. Then write those feelings down. Write your thoughts down, write the feelings you're having about them down. And then change them. Write some positive, opposite feelings. That will take a little bit of time, but it's worth it. It'll take a few minutes every day. Keep a notebook close to you, or do it every evening. Remember, our negative thoughts come from our limiting, self-sabotaging beliefs that we've probably carried with us forever. So it will take a little bit of time, but I promise you, if you work on it, you will change them and automatically start having more positive thinking. I've done it myself, and it's made a world of difference.
Am I choosing my thoughts? I can if I pause.
The song I'm going to sing for you today is a song I wrote. It's simple and written for those who are missing loved ones during this social distancing time. The song is called One Day Closer, and as I wrote it, I was thinking about all my family, my children, but especially my 2 grandsons, who I miss so much. Kyle and Robbie, I love you. Mwah. Every day I pray for a way to stay close to you. Yeah, I do, 'cause I'm missing you. I'm missing you. As days go by, sometimes I cry, but know that I will always try to find a way to keep my fears at bay, knowing every day, knowing every day that I'm one day closer to being with you again. One day closer to coming round the bend. One day closer, one day closer, one day closer to when all of this will end. I called you today just to say, can't wait for the day I can make my way straight to you. Yeah, it's true, 'cause I'm missing you. I'm missing you, though it's been a while. We're apart by miles. Memories are filed, oh, and they make me smile. Soon comes the day, it's not far away, and I know every day, oh, every day brings me one day closer to being with you again. One day closer to coming round the bend. One day closer, one day closer, one day closer to when all of this will end. One day closer to seeing you again.
I have depression, but I prefer to say I battle depression instead of I suffer with it, because when depression hits, I hit back. Battle on.